Anything in your life that is keeping you stuck in the present from your past, unable to move forward in the future, has to go on every level. You know, here in this reality, when we talk about things that are evil and bad, they're just not closer to source or the light. So their vibration is much lower. Anything in your life that is keeping you stuck in the present from your past, unable to move forward in the future, has to go on every level. Okay? Because when you're stuck in the present, that's just it. You are not present. You are surviving, you're not thriving. And I choose to thrive every day. You know, here in this reality, when we talk about things that are evil and bad, they're just not closer to source or the light. So their vibration is much lower. I believe in levels of vibration. Source of the universe is the highest form of love and vibration in existence. I believe in levels of vibration. Source of the universe is the highest form of love and vibration in existence. Here in this reality, when we talk about things that are evil and bad, they're just not closer to source or the light. So their vibration is much lower.
When you're a little kid, you're turned on. And then the engagement with mom, dad, teacher, minister of life begin to say, no, this is how we do it. We do this. We go to these schools. We don't go to those schools. We think this. We eat this kind of food. We don't do this. And that little kid begins to say, okay, and adapts to kind of coming into a body and living this life that we live. And so you forget. Little kid forgets. And little kid's told, no, don't do that, and stop making up those stories, and there's no angel sitting at the table when you're playing tea. And so you have to make a decision in that early age where you look at mom and dad and you look at the angel sitting at the play tea counter and you make a decision that I'm going to go with mom and dad. And you start shutting things down. All those clairvoyance, clairescence, clairsentience, telepathic levels, your clairaudience. Most people shut them down. You have come and played this game of human being, and you played it in this third dimensional game. And the game that you came here to play is you pushed your way to the front of the line and said to the Creator, send me. I want to go down here. And the Creator said, let me explain this to you. So you're going to go down there and you're going to forget who I am. And you're going to forget who you are. And you're going to put a bag over your head and you're going to bump around into all kinds of odd things that you don't even know about right now. And you're going to try to find your way back home. And you said, I said, okay, how far into that darkness do I go? And the Creator smiled and said, knock yourself out and see what you can do. And you said, watch me. And it's in that watch me that we jump here and inevitably we forgot Creator, we forgot who we are, we forgot why we came here. We ask ourselves all the time, what's wrong with me? And something's missing in my reality. And I know there's something more, many people, spiritual type people say. And yet I can't put my hands around it. What if there were a set of tools, a set of skills, a set of opportunities that the mom, dad, teacher, minister never told you? They didn't keep it away from you. They didn't know either. And so what if you could begin to recognize that there were some real simple choices to begin to navigate your reality differently than how you've navigated it to this point? Well, let's just decide I've done what I did and I've tried everything out and I'm still kind of a little off balance. But what if there was a set of choices that allowed you to simply begin to step out of the noise, step out of the I'm not okay, step out of the game of the external world, and basically begin to recognize yourself in a space that is okay? Would that be a useful place to play? one of the things that happens is we as a human being have never been really taught about our space. Every living thing has this aura, this energetic field of space. It's your personal space. But when you don't know where your space starts and stops, it's really hard to distinguish this energy that's passing through me, this upset feeling I'm having, is it mine or is it somebody else's? But see, that's even kind of an impossible question, because the upset anger that I'm feeling is in my space, so it must be mine. No, it's not. In fact, far more often, it's not even yours at all. It's the person standing over there that's vibrating. Think about two tuning forks. And this one starts to vibrate, and this one is similar in alignment, and it begins to vibrate also. That's what we are, human beings that basically don't have a clear definition of our vibration. And we begin to be the effect of everybody else's off balance or happiness. You get around people and they're laughing and you begin to laugh. But what if you could identify something really simple? So where do you start and stop? There is a point where if you were to take your arm and stick it straight out in front of you and turn your palm towards yourself, plus or minus an inch or so, that's where the edge of your aura is, that energy field of organic life. And that energy field goes all the way around you, over your head, but it's really never paid attention to a great extent. What if you could create a point of delineation that simply says, right on this point, right out in front of you, we use a little concept called a rose. You have a mental image picture of a rose, and you just put it right out here, right at the point where your hand turns forward. And you make a set of decisions. You simply pull your energy to this side of that rose. This is me, and everything on the other side is Shakespeare's theater to entertain me. This is me, and that's life for my observation and enjoyment. If you could define that, which is pretty simple to do, what happens is this rose begins to be a point of delineation. It's not a protection, it's not a keep out. It just simply says, this says everything that's over there stays over there, and I begin to be aware of who I am. That single concept, when it's played out, begins to allow you to do a number of things. One is you automatically begin to move into present time. Present time is the only place you live, the only place you exist. You don't exist yesterday, tomorrow, breakfast, dinner tonight. That's all happened to a great extent, or is going to happen. You can't change the future in the future, and you can't direct the past in the past. But when you get into present time, the ability to alter your future and alter your past become actually relatively simple. You see, your past is basically just information when it doesn't have an emotion attached to it. Oh, poor me, I was bad, I'm sad, etc. When you basically look at your past in this context, think about things that you've done where you hold yourself hostage. See, I said something when I was 12 and I thought I was making a funny joke, and they all laughed at me, but not with me. And I was so embarrassed. And I make a decision, I'm never going to tell a joke again. Does what happened at 12 years old really have any bearing on you today? Do you really need to carry around that sense of embarrassment because of something you did at 12 years old? When you basically can begin to define this space, edge of the rose to my heart, this is me, and you start to be in present time, you begin to have an awareness that much of what has happened in your past has really very little to do with you at all. Even your events that you think, oh, that was a big deal. No, actually, more often than not, you were just passing through a point in time where a whole bunch of people were gathered and there was a result. Had very little to do with you. But when you can begin to define this rose, and when you can begin to make a set of decisions to start to feel yourself rather than thinking yourself, everything begins to change. One of the key anchor points to the third dimensional game is something called time. But see, how we receive time is we perceive time as linear time. Past, present, future, and then you die. And that's all there is to it. But when you begin to start to define the edge of your aura, when you begin to, we'll talk about words in a minute, vibrations, feelings in a minute, when you start to get into present time, you begin to realize that there are 5 different configurations of present time. Linear time does something that creates a challenge in real terms. And what it says is, this thing that happened in my past that caused me some challenges, I hope it doesn't happen to me in my future. And so I'm going to create the big red flag that says, you know, danger, danger, if this thing seems to happen again. The other thing that we do is they, the proverbial they, told me if I do X, Y, Z, I will be successful in my future. So one of the things that we do in linear time is we begin to perceive ourselves from a place of avoiding something, mostly things that happened in the past that we don't even remember, but we're still holding the feelings. And we give up our seniority very fully to the external world. They hire me, they provide me money, they tell me I'm okay, they tell me what to do. And so, as an individual, we are constantly giving our attention to the they of the world. But when you can begin to be in present time, and you realize in present time that your past is really a whole configuration of information. I told a joke, I got laughed at, but do I need to continue to carry that around to define me today? And this is where you begin to start to have opportunity to change. There's a couple more pieces to this. See, most of us spend a lot of time in the rational mind, thinking about how it works and how it should work. Am I going to satisfy them? Are they going to be happy with me? Am I going to get my raise, or are they going to keep me back? We're always giving up seniority to the external world to validate us. And we're thinking about it all the time. But what if you could just build a little platform over here to begin to step out of the world that surrounds you, that tells you what to do? What if you could just kind of step aside? And one of the ways that you begin to recognize how to step aside is the rational mind only knows what it knows, and it doesn't know what it doesn't know. And it has a very specific job. It is to keep you safe and have you fit in. That's it. Keep you safe and have you fit in. And so in order to not rock the boat, I have to pay attention to them out there to make sure they like me, or they're not going to be upset with me. So we're constantly dancing around what we think they might think. And as everybody knows, that's a challenging set of dynamics. When you give up your seniority to the world around you, and you basically are going to do what they say, and they're right, they know what they're doing, and I'm not so smart, and I'm hoping to get their approval. There's not a lot of room in that thinking to begin to have a stability in your own space, a quietness in your own space. See, when you get quiet, certain, capable, and you begin to choose the realities you wish, it's really not complicated, and you use all these various creative mechanisms, every breath, every thought, every feeling you have. But once they're defined and you realize I can take charge of creation, you start to get rid of all the baggage. The I'm not okay begins to leave. And pretty soon you have to recognize I am having an intention, and in my quietness, everything comes to me. It's a huge shift in terms of how it all works, away from the doubt and the fear and the uncertainty and the lack of managed capacity to create what you want, to a place where you kind of step into yourself quietly and begin to recognize how to create intention, how to use the rays of creation, how to begin to use light and color and love and sound to create the reality you wish to live. It's not difficult. It's in this space where everything comes to you, and you begin to have an awareness of how that works, and you begin to draw from the other realms of consciousness, and you begin to find that your ability to have what you want is not that difficult to have happen.
You are self-answering, self-awakening, self-aware, self-confident. But we say, first you become aware. That means you'll know there's something out there. That's the way, that's the path. Then we say, I'm becoming awake. On the path, I'm understanding. I'm getting the manifestations. Then when we become enlightened, and a real enlightened person can say that because there's no really no level of enlightenment. It just means I'm generating the light inside and manifesting out. It's blissful. It's compassionate. It's even though you're like in a voided state, you're empty but yet you're full. In the higher realms of that, you can't explain it. That's what we call Tao, the great mystery. Crazy wisdom in Tibet. The only way when someone tries to say, what's the highest expression of what you can attain, you just have to laugh hysterically because you can't explain it. That's the true thing. Can't be felt, touched, taste, only directly experienced.
In a universe in which a fractal structure directs the embeddedness and the organization of all things, there is a feedback between what radiates and what contracts. There is a feedback between the intent and the modification of that intent by all other intents and the result that comes back to us. Thus, to say that we create our reality is only part of the equation, half of the equation. The other half is that reality, and that is every other thing in the universe creates us. And it is a dance between your intent and the modification of that intent by the rest of the universe so that it can self-organize and not have chaos. So it is a dance. How well can we dance it? How aware are we of the information available in the vacuum? How aware are we of the information we are feeding the vacuum? And how aware are we of what that information goes through in its transformation with the rest of the universe before it gets back to us with our reality? Becoming aware of that fundamental feedback loop may be one of the most crucial, important part of the evolution of consciousness on this planet at this time.
You know, we get so attached and identified to this sense of who I am, me, this sense called I. So we have the you and the you and the wake, you and the dream, and then let's just call it the third state, deep sleep. Have you ever fallen asleep and had such a deep sleep, or that while he was asleep, there was just war, there was just black, there was just nothing was happening while you were asleep, just black, void. And then it's as though in the deep sleep, you were not then you wake up, and you wasn't present, you say something like, I slept deep. Yet I wasn't actually present or aware or conscious while you were there. So my question is, what happened to the you in the deep sleep? If you weren't there in deep sleep, how could you wake up and say, I slept deep?
The planet has a consciousness. The planet is alive. It's a living being. So it has its own karma. It doesn't like what we're doing to it. Just like a dog with fleas. Eventually he doesn't like what you're doing to it. It's going to shake its fleas off. This is what's happening right now. It's living out its karma to get rid of the tormentors. No, the earth itself has a consciousness. It's very real. This is what cried out, help me. And this is where the ministers have come to help change everything. We're coming into this point. The ETs help us all the time. They've been helping us since the beginning of the world. But that would be a whole other series of lectures I'd like to give you on that, is how they created us and how they started their civilizations. Watching over us since the beginning of time. So they're not negative. But eventually they want us to join with them and to be part of the federation. That is because they said we would be a valuable addition because of our curiosity and our creativity. But they don't want us to into this negativity. That goes back to our animal nature. Get rid of that first before we can ever be allowed to associate with them. They just watch us, observe us, and shake their heads, and figure out why we do the things we do. Get away from the animal nature, the violence. That's part of it. They're hoping we're going to go out of it, but it's not easy. But you can't do it, and that's why they won't associate. Say, why don't they go and land on the White House lawn? They don't want anything to do with us. They're observing us to see what we're doing. The only way they would interfere would be if we were to try to build a planet up. Then they would have to interfere. Because if we were to destroy the world, it would send operations out through space. The galaxies would disrupt too much. They couldn't allow that to happen. It's the law of non-interference. It's very real. And if they can't interfere unless something like that was happening, because then we could be interfering with other civilizations. So they just watch us shake our planet of free will. They've given us that to see what we're going to do with it. And they don't like what we're doing with it.
If we truly realized who we are, we could change the agreement on this planet in 2 seconds. If we truly understood the power that resides within us, we could eliminate starvation, hunger, the atrocities that we have become to bear to witness that have really wounded the group human soul could be healed in 2 seconds flat. If we just realized, if we understood the power that we are, we could change the agreement of the human race in such that if we realize the collective group mind of the human race and that we are all interconnected and could unite and unify into that common theme and bond that I am God, what kind of power could come from that very statement? I think that's an incredibly powerful statement, and probably would suggest that that would be one of our daily affirmations from now on.
do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout. Because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people. And you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them and see how you do and refine your intuition. People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout. Because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people. And you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them and see how you do and refine your intuition.
what does it really mean to follow God? Like as I stand here today, I'm reminded of the first time my children ever got an opportunity to be in snow. And when we walked outside in the snow, they were very fearful in terms of the steps that they would take. And what I did was I walked in front of them and I took steps. And I said to them, instead of creating your own footprints, walk in the footprints that I've already made.
It's been 23 years now since rapper Tupac Shakur was shot to death in Las Vegas. Since then, someone confessed to the murder, but he's still a free man.
He was a legend in life and in death. And 23 years after rapper and actor Tupac Shakur was murdered in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, the people he impacted are still searching for justice.
We look at death from the selfish side, like, you know, that guy died, oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth. At the worst, he's just somewhere quiet, no nothing. At best, he's an angel, or he's at the next existence, or he's a spirit somewhere, you know. What is so bad about that?
He was a legend in life and in death. He was a legend in life and in death.
We look at death from the selfish side, like, you know, that guy died, oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth. At the worst, he's just somewhere quiet, no nothing. At best, he's an angel, or he's at the next existence, or he's a spirit somewhere, you know. What is so bad about that?
He was a legend in life and in death.
If we truly realized who we are, we could change the agreement on this planet in 2 seconds.
Becoming aware of that fundamental feedback loop may be one of the most crucial, important part of the evolution of consciousness on this planet at this time.
If we truly realized who we are, we could change the agreement on this planet in 2 seconds.
In that space, in that frequency, in that gradient, we are all one. In that space, in that frequency, in that gradient, we are all one.
The planet has a consciousness. The planet is alive. It's a living being. The planet has a consciousness. The planet is alive. It's a living being.
If we truly realized who we are, we could change the agreement on this planet in 2 seconds.
Becoming aware of that fundamental feedback loop may be one of the most crucial, important part of the evolution of consciousness on this planet at this time.
In that space, in that frequency, in that gradient, we are all one. In that space, in that frequency, in that gradient, we are all one. In that space, in that frequency, in that gradient, we are all one.
Because they will either damn other religions outright, or far more insidiously damn them with faint praise. Because they will either damn other religions outright, or far more insidiously damn them with faint praise. Old Buddha taught some very good things, you know, and we all are indebted to his great moral principles, but because they will either damn other religions outright, or far more insidiously damn them with faint praise. Old Buddha taught some very good things, because they will either damn other religions outright, or far more insidiously damn them with faint praise. Old Buddha taught some very good things, you know, and we all are indebted to his great moral principles, but, and then comes this pitch, you see, for the soul following of Jesus as the Lord and Master, head and shoulders above all. Well, the trouble with that has always been that when you get into a theological argument with a person who is a Christian, you get into a situation where the advocate and the judge are the same person. That is to say, Jesus is judged the best man in the world by the standards of Christianity, because those are the standards with which this kind of person judges. And therefore, and you'll find that people who leap to these judgments usually don't know very much about any other kind of religion. The courses on comparative religion in theological schools are shockingly superficial and grossly inaccurate. And so this is coming to the front now, you see. In order to be to belong to the church, really, is to be saved. And to be saved is to belong to the innest in-group. You have to have an in-group, you see. If you want to know who you are, you have to belong to something. Say, if you want to distinguish yourself. Because you know who you are because of the people who aren't like you. There you get a contrast. Now this is the basic arrangement for a church. So, you see, if you want to be in some kind of an in-group, you must put everybody else beyond the pale. St. Thomas Aquinas gave the show away, actually, because he said that the blessed in heaven will often walk to the battlements and look down and delight in the justice of God being properly carried out in hell. So, but you may not believe in hell, you may be very liberal, and after all, it's not nice or sophisticated nowadays to believe in everlasting damnation. But we have new words for it, such as failing to be a real person, sinking below the human level, or entering into final and irremediable psychosis, All these are new words, either for damnation or heresy. And so you join, and you know you're saved only if somebody else isn't. If somebody else is damned. It's very difficult to believe, or even to imagine a state of affairs where everyone and everything is saved. You have to be a mystic even to think about that, because it requires having a state of consciousness which transcends oppositions, and you can't do that along the line of ordinary logic. You have to have a new kind of logic which takes over at a certain point, and this logic I'm using at the moment by pointing out that damned people and saved people need each other. They are in a symbiotic relationship with each other. They go together in the same way as the back and the front of something, because if something has a front, it has to have a back too. And so, the very fact that fronts and backs go together indicates that there is a unity between these two opposed sides. So also there is a unity between the damned and the saved. And it's only as you begin to realize that you need the damned people in order to be saved, and that the damned people need the saved people in order to be damned, that you start laughing about it. And that laughter is very subversive. And it's, you know how it is, you're not supposed to laugh in church, and not in courts of law either. There are places where laughter makes people nervous, because it's supposed to be a sign of disrespect. Now, it may not be so at all. Dante said that the song of the angels in paradise sounded like the laughter of the universe. But in church, especially any rather more serious kinds of church, laughing is very bad form. Why? Because if you look at the design of a Catholic church, you will notice that it is based upon the design of the courtroom of a king. And if you look at a Protestant church, you will see that it is based upon the design of a law court. Indeed, the Protestant minister wears exactly the same robes as an American judge.